They want to be able to control us so they can kill us. This is the deal. Okay? And I know this sounds fantastical, but it's as real as death. What you are about to experience is something you don't often see. This is very, very rare and rewarding. This is a brother and sister. And originally from Minnesota. And the young lady went overseas to Italy to study art and philosophy and German. She wanted to speak German. I don't know why. I don't think she knows why. But regardless, she wound up marrying a professor in economics who is teaching at Tulane University and had just moved to the city. And I guess her and her brother were just out for the day, enjoying the fruits of New Orleans, and ran across, of course, me, to my good fortune, and hopefully to theirs too. The rarity in this is the attentiveness here that was given. I guess it speaks a lot to her interest in philosophy, which she apparently took a great many courses in. And the ability to listen and ask good questions here. If every conversation I could have with a liberal was like this, it would be wonderful. You know, she is probably more independent-minded thinking, because I don't think she put pigeonholes herself, but there were certainly some liberal beliefs that she had that, I poked holes in. And she, to her good, manners and ability to reason, listened and asked good questions. And I think I made a difference here. I don't say that often. A lot of the times I wonder if people don't take what I'm saying out there and just kind of like brush it off their shoulders and go about their lives anyway. But I think she'll look some of the stuff up I mentioned to her, and both her and her brother, who is a fine young man. And so, I hope you really enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed having the conversation with these two. And if you do, you know what to do. You hit the like button and you subscribe if you haven't, all that stuff. You know what to do. And if I coach you one more time, go to the subscribe star and become a subscriber, or get something in my shop or whatever. I do need your support. Thank you. Okay, let's get to this, and I'll see you on the other side. So you guys political at all, or is it, are you political at all?
I mean, I'm not like active in a campaign or something, or is that what you mean?
No, just,
Oh, okay.
your general...
I mean, I'm interested in politics, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of our current situation?
I don't like how divided everything is.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
So I would like to see some sort of compromise or coming together, or something else. I mean, because it feels so like you got to choose one side or the other, and I don't like that. I like to have my own ideas about, kind of like a mixed bag. I'd like to see somebody who's a bit different. Yeah.
I think the powers that be force us into camps.
Yeah,
Because it's all about, divide and conquer with them.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy that they use to keep us at odds with one another, so we're not paying attention to how they're ripping us off.
Yeah.
So that's their philosophy. And how they do it. So I think this divide has been created because if we get together and talk, we always wind up finding common ground and working things out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's the powers that be that create these. I mean, they control the media. So when they control the media, that's perception. So they can create the perception of a divide and have us think, oh, they're an idiot. You know what you're talking, right? So we're not really discussing. We're just shouting about it.
Oh yeah. Our parents' household is like a war zone when it comes to that.
Yeah, because our dad is really conservative and our mom is really liberal. So.
Oh God, it must be true love then, huh?
It's like both are way to the other. There's like
holy cow.
Well, mom, I think is more.
Oh, I imagine Thanksgiving must be a lot of fun.
Because even I discussed some stuff with her that I'm more left than she is. So I see her as more of a centrist. But I don't know. It's like, it would be nice to like have something that goes beyond this back and forth. Because I'm just, we all have different values, but it's not like there's only two versions of a value, And so it's kind of like.
Yeah.
That's what I think about the current situation. To answer your question.
Indeed.
Because I am really for like free speech and like I don't like the PC stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time I'm like into environmentalism and stuff, and so it's sort of like but I'm also for the free market. So it's kind of like I don't really know where to go.
That's a good subject to talk about in this instance. Because I helped start the Institute for Environmental Alternatives with Professor Ron Cohn in '71 when it was called Ecology. And we were kind of aware that the things we were finding out, that we were going to be infiltrated by people who wanted to use what we were finding out for a political agenda.
Okay.
Now, if you look up the name Maurice Strong, it's Strong, S-T-R-O-N-G. He was a political operative that took the environmental movement, the ecology thing, and came up with the idea of global warming. And using CO2 as a boogeyman. Because they know that if they can get us to believe that we're the problem, that because we're producing CO2, that they can control our energy usage. And if you can control people's energy usage, you can control them. So that's how they turned it into a political movement. In actuality, we're actually CO2 starved. We could use more CO2, not less. So, because it's not a pollutant, it's a natural element of life. We breathe it out, the big green things breathe it in. So it's a reciprocal gas. One volcano will spew out more CO2 than we produce in our entire lives. So, it's a boogeyman. It's something they made up. So, now do we pollute? Sure, but they don't focus on that. They don't focus on the fact that there are ships taking plastic out into the ocean and dumping it in the ocean. They focus on the fact that we need to go out there and clean it up. Well, why don't you just stop the ships from dumping it, you morons?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't focus on the real problems. They don't focus on the chemicals that we dump into the water. They don't focus on that.
So you would rather see a shift from talking about cleaning up what's already been done to more prevent it from even happening in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, look, give a good example of that would be coal. Coal was there's no filters on it. It pollutes there, comes out, in the early Industrial Revolution. Well, regulations came in. Now the regulations, the filters they have on coal-burning plants hardly produces any pollution at all. I mean, so we have the technology to go ahead and, and produce clean energy using fossil fuels. So, but they want to reduce that. They say, oh, fossil fuels are bad. No, they don't. We have an abundance of it. We have the technology to make it burn clean. It's there. But again, if they can convince us that it's a bad thing, they can control how we use it, how we get around.
I'm just, because I never heard this before, so I'm just wondering how they would.
Well, for instance, they want to. I mean, there are politicians now that are running, like Sanders and Bernie and Biden have said they want to do away with fossil fuels entirely. They get in, they're going to do away with fossil fuels. Excuse me, but that's like, you know how mighty people work in fossil fuel industry? Do you know that the things, almost everything we use has fossil fuels in it? So, I mean, we're talking about we're number one energy producer in the world. So we're talking about doing what? And then what do we replace it with? What? What's going to replace it?
Well, solar and wind.
But solar itself pollutes. The batteries will produce more pollution, real pollution, than the fossil fuels do. I mean, you have to make this stuff.
Yeah.
Making the solar panels itself pollutes.
If I'm thinking about, like, I don't know, 1,000 years into the future, like if I have kids and they have kids and I'm thinking about my great-great-great-grandkids, I don't know the exact data, but I understand that we use more fossil fuels than can be reproduced naturally.
There's enough, and it reproduces itself. The Earth is a reproducing fossil fuel system.
But it takes thousands of years for it to generate.
But I'm going to give you something else to look up. You're familiar with Procter & Gamble?
Yeah.
I think the third largest conglomerate in the world.
Yeah.
Foster Gamble, heir to that vast fortune, as a young man has an epiphany, because he's being groomed to be a top 0.00001%. Right? And he goes, I am surrounded by psychopaths and sociopaths. These people, these elites I'm growing up with, are insane. They're power crazy, insane people. He says, I don't want nothing to do with it. So he breaks from the agenda. He made a documentary called Thrive, Thrive.
Okay.
In there, one of the first things he exposes is government cover-ups for over 100 years. And the first thing he exposes is free energy suppression. We have the technology for free energy. Tesla technology, Nikola Tesla, came up with free energy we draw out of the air. It just comes out of the air. We draw it from the Earth's energy. It surrounds us. It is here.
So can we replace fossil fuels with this free energy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, there's our solution, no?
Yeah, but here's what they did. J.P. Morgan was funding Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla walked in, here it is. Here's that, this is it. And J.P. Morgan says, okay, how do we meter it? Well, you don't. The people buy this box. It draws energy out of the air, and it runs their everything for everything.
Off of it. Yeah.
They burned his laboratory down, and they put Nikola Tesla into obscurity.
Wow.
I mean, so that's,
It's called Thrive?
Thrive, Thrive. So we've had free energy free energy technology for over 100 years. So with that knowledge, this whole thing
doesn't matter. Yeah. So how could we move forward like with that?
Well, we're looking at how many $3 trillion, $6 trillion a year industry in fossil fuels. Hello, how do you fight that?
Yeah, I think that's what.
So again,
environmentalists are trying to do. So if we can come together.
But again, remember, it has very little to do with the environment. That's an implant. We can burn clean fossil fuels. The deal is they want to put us into something they can still meter and control. But if they said you said solar, okay, excuse me, but how do you have a solar plane?
But for me, it's not like the burning clean is important, of course, but also that the rate of usage will outlast the amount of time it takes to regenerate. So for me, like logically thinking in the future, like we're gonna run out. Like even if it's 1,000 years, even if it's 2,000 years, I'm still gonna have ancestors who are going to need.
No, you won't. I'm going to tell you why. Because this whole thing is about population reduction. It's all about they don't need us anymore. Understand, if they can go ahead and control us, if they can get us into little city states who say, oh, I'm sorry, you guys can't travel anymore. Oh, it's fossil fuel, you can't do it. You got to be in these little city states. You can't travel. Then they can control us, and then they start killing us. Because the last thing they want is us around anymore. Henry Kissinger called us the future useless food eaters. They don't need us anymore because of this. AI, robotic technology. If there was anything that Andrew Yang was talking about, he brought up the fact that I was speaking to a Harvard professor in economics out here one day. And I asked him, what is that going to do to the people we see walking the streets right now? And he says in about 10 years, 50% of them will be out of work. I said, what are we going to do with all these out of work people? He looked at me straight in the eye and said, in the past, we've killed you. Harvard made me take that. Well, they took that down. They just took that off my website. They want to be able to control us so they can kill us. This is the deal. Okay? And I know this sounds fantastical, but it's as real as death. This is what they want. I'll give you something else to look up to prove that the entire global warming thing is a hoax.
Okay.
Look up weather weapons, geoengineering. If you look up the history of weather modification programs, you will see documented evidence going back to 1891 of government and private programs on controlling the weather. It would be ludicrous to think that governments and the military wouldn't try to control the weather in some way. 1954, President Eisenhower started the Department of Weather and Climate Modification. In 1961, President Kennedy stood before the UN and said, we will use today's technology to control the weather. That's a quote. Ben Livingston, Lieutenant Ben Livingston, became known as the father of weather weapons. We used those weapons in Vietnam from 68 to 72. When that was leaked out, the UN passed the UN Weather Weapons Treaty banning the use of weather weapons. We don't ban things we don't have. So China bragged about making it snow for the Winter Olympics, and it snowed so much I had to close down Saigon.
Yeah, that was crazy.
You remember that?
I remember, yeah.
You remember them bragging about that?
Yeah, that was...
They bragged about making it rain. They can make it rain over the size of an area the size of France.
Yeah,
this
that
is
was
public.
Yeah, I didn't.
All right,
know
so if this is, we have these weapons.
I know, yeah.
HARP, geoengineering, chemtrailing. These things are real. We spend billions of dollars on them, yet in any climate change article, document, do they ever mention this stuff? Why? why don't they mention this stuff? Because they don't want us to think about it. They don't want us to know we do this stuff. They want us to think that we're the problem. It's your carbon footprint. You're the problem. You have to reduce your carbon footprint. In the meantime, they say, oh, the oceans are going to rise because all ice is melting because of our carbon footprint. Yet Obama just bought a $13 million mansion on the Hamptons, on the shoreline. I guess he's really not worried about it. And they take 170 private jets to the climate change conference because they're really worried about the full carbon footprint. They're bullshit artists. They're lying to us. Get it?
Good performance.
No, I mean, it's interesting to hear because, you know, we can sometimes be so caught up in our echo chambers that, you know, I always am interested to know, like, the beliefs of people who have, or like the understanding the reasoning behind different beliefs than what I have. So it's interesting to hear.
Well, again, why? It was about a month ago. Professor David Dilley, I met him out here. 40 years, climatologist. I mean, he worked for NASA and the weather services and everything. I mean, he's just prolific, very well. Very much out there, outspoken about the climate change hoax. He cannot find anybody to debate him. He would love to debate anybody that believes in global warming. And try to do this. Try to find a debate with a skeptic of global warming that's a qualified climatologist with anybody that's a proponent of it. You won't find it. They will not debate him.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's because it's so easily debunked. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I just debunked it. I debunked it in several different ways. It's easy to debunk. And again, it's all about controlling us. It's all about saying, it's your problem. You gotta get out of that gas guzzling car and get into an electric car. Electric car? Get out of here, electric car. Get out of here. Damn electric car. Boom. You know, it's gonna. Come on. What? Takes you 8 hours to charge it up? Hey, takes me 2 minutes to fill up my gas tank. See ya. Boom. Out of here. You know, come on. No. This is all a hoax in order to control us. All a hoax. So when you get up there and hear them talking about the Green New Deal, consider them a bullshit artist right from the get-go. They either one, don't know what the hell they're talking about, or they're bullying you.
Okay.
Period. I'm telling you. That is as real as death as it gets. And again, it's all about control.
Well, thanks for the nice conversation, sir.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm so, so nice to, have that happen. And here's a couple of get-out-of-jail-free cards from Hillary Clinton for you. This is good for any crime in the world.
Thank you.
And if you go to the back of that, my YouTube channel is on there. You will see Professor David Dilley in that conversation I had with him.
Okay.
All
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So weren't they enjoyable? I swear. I like it because I think, she can make a difference because I think she's, she's the kind of person that can reach other people. And hopefully she does. Well, thank you for coming by. Thank you for listening. And remember, if you like it, if you care, share, and if you can contribute. And of course, don't forget to pray for me. I will be praying for you, and I'll see you on the streets.